Hi everybody on the VC, Dark Dove back with you again with another vinyl update. I've got a very interesting mixed bag to show you today and quite a few surprises. There's quite a lot of stuff which wouldn't be typical to one I normally show. Well, starting off first, I will show you something which I've been looking to get for quite a long time. That is Neil Young, Time Fades Away. As any Neil Young fans out there will be aware, this is probably one of his most sought after albums and one of the hardest to find. Um, it's a live album released in 1973. It was kind of poorly enough received at the time. Funnily enough, Neil Young himself is not a fan of it. He has described it as one of his worst records. I have to say I disagree thoroughly with. Sorry, Neil, you're wrong. It's a very worthy addition to the Neil Young canon. No, as far as I'm aware, I don't think it's ever been released on CD. And it is hard enough to find, so I was very happy to pick this up. This is an original German press. It's part of Neil Young's so-called Ditch trilogy, which includes it's one of that trio of very dark albums which came out in the mid-70s, which includes this, On the Beach and Tonight's the Night. Very nice coloured inner sleeve there. So reprise. Okay, so yeah, so it's an original German press. It also comes with just show you there now. This lyric insert, paper lyric insert, which, as far as I'm aware, is quite rare for copies to turn up with this. So it's printed on very thin paper and folds out like this. So well, so it's quite big when it folds out all the way. Just be careful because it looks quite fragile. Okay. Okay, I'll just put it aside just temporarily. Okay, so yeah, so very pleased with this pickup because it's plugged a big hole in my Neil Young collection. So okay, so and it's a must-have for any serious Neil Young collector. So there you go. Staying temporarily with Neil Young, as you'll know, Neil Young live at the Cellar Door. That's a long lost live album recorded in 1970. That was released this year. I picked it up on CD, and I would have liked to have picked it up on vinyl, but as you'll see through the course of the video, I've kind of splurged quite a bit on vinyl over the last week. So and I saw they had reduced the CD to almost half price, so I decided I could live with it being on CD, so just so grabbed it. yeah, so this is an absolutely fantastic live album. Uh, some of his, I suppose you could say, most popular songs from mostly a lot of them from after the gold rush. Uh, Very intimate performance. It's just Neil himself on the guitar and the piano, and it is well worth picking up. I highly recommend anybody to grab this if you can. Okay, now over the weekend, myself and my girlfriend, we went for a short weekend trip to a town called Ennis in County Clare, which is actually not far from where Ben Costello lives. I didn't manage to meet up with him because he was in Dublin over the weekend, but I hit the charity shops. One charity shop in particular, I got some very interesting finds. I picked up some CDs, which I'll go through very quickly. I got these all for about €1 each. 9 Inch Nails single, Survivalism. More 9 Inch Nails. Fixed, EP from 1992, featuring remixes from Coil and J.G. Turwell. Dois, how do you pronounce the name? Dois, The Ideal Crash. Arab Strap, Philophobia, and continuing the theme of album art with naked people. Compilation from Uncut magazine, Fill Your Head with Prog. Some great stuff on this. Okay, so I picked up two vinyl albums from this charity shop which I hit in Ennis, both pretty interesting. First off is something which I think has been shown quite a lot in the VC. This is Curved Air, and it is Air Conditioning is the name of the album. So this is a prog rock classic. I'm sure a lot of you will have it already and be familiar with it. This is I think the second pressing on the green Warner Brothers label. It originally came out, I think, in a picture sleeve or a picture disc rather, which had these images on the disc. I think the kind of idea behind this is like a kind of a, what do you call that, a kind of a mandala, where you're playing as you kind of, when you're tripping off your box on acid, I presume, you'll be, looking at this, looking at the center point and kind of going off on a trip into outer space. But so this is it's not in the best of condition. It is pretty worn. It has been played a lot, but I picked it up for next to nothing, for very little. So that was a nice find. And the other the other charity shop pickup, which I made in Ennis in the same shop, was this. This is something pretty unusual. Again, I picked it up for next to nothing. It's by Aidan Bartley and the Slave Girl, and it's a mini album. It's an EP, and it's called Struggle and Malarkey. It's from 1990. It's an Irish pressing. I'd never heard of Aidan Bartley before, but there's very little information about him up on the net. But I know he's from Belfast. This is it looks like a private pressing. Now I'd say it could well be a private press. It says it's Moon. Is this Moon Records? I think. Yeah, Moon Records. Which I've looked this particular record up on Discogs. There's 2 copies of it up at the moment. One for €15 and the other for €20. I'd say it's quite rare. I think it potentially could be a kind of a thing that could be quite collectible, only maybe in a future collectible perhaps. It's kind of folk rock, kind of folk indie rock. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. So it was an interesting find. It's something kind of unusual. Oh yeah, it comes with a. Oh yeah, there's an insert as well, by the way. Okay. Now. Oh yes, another interesting charity shop find which I made here in town, here in Cork. The Beach Boys, the Christmas album. Now, when it comes to the Beach Boys, I'm kind of I have mixed feelings about them. Yeah, I like their later stuff. I like Pet Sounds, but this is definitely not one of their finest moments. I mean, it just kind of screams, everything about it just screams pure cheesiness. But saying that, it is an original mono pressing. It is in very, very nice condition. It's actually for something that's 50 years old. It's in amazingly good condition. And I'm gonna it's something worth keeping to perhaps sell or trade. I can imagine, I mean, it is the Beach Boys, so a lot of it, it would be something that you could potentially trade. So I'm going to hang on to it and see if I can perhaps trade it in for something else. But it was, still for a charity shop find. It's, it is interesting. Okay, now the next few items I'm going to show you. I got them all in a local record shop, which kind of vintage shop, which specializes in records. They're a bit on the pricey side, this shop generally. So all of the stuff which I picked up, or almost all of the stuff that I'm going to show you now, were kind of partial trades. Now, so far up to now, I have picked up very little vinyl from the 1990s, from the kind of period where vinyl was kind of dying out. From period roughly from 1990 up to about say 2005. I have up to now had very little vinyl from that period, but I'm after plugging that hole a little bit. Okay, starting off with a band who I haven't had anything by them on vinyl previously, and that is Belle and Sebastian. Now they're an indie group from Glasgow, Scotland. I like them. I am a fan of them, but I acknowledge that they do polarize opinions a little bit. When they're good, they're excellent, but they can sometimes veer off into kind of tweeness, a little bit, or kind of I don't know. Anyway, this is an EP from 1998. It's called "This Is Just a Modern Rock Song," and there's a few more songs on here. I Know Where the Summer Goes, The Gate, Slow Graffiti. Funnily enough, the vinyl is very, very heavy. Strangely enough, which I'm kind of surprised at. Yeah, so they're kind of interesting. The cover art on their singles, generally, they never actually feature the band themselves. They always feature these anonymous people on their sleeve art, which is kind of interesting. It's kind of a little bit like what the Smiths did with their with their sleeves. Okay, so there we go. Now the next pickup, yeah, something very interesting indeed. Elliot Smith. This album is called Either Or. Now Elliot Smith, he was active in the 90s. He committed suicide just over 10 years ago, and he's kind of become something of a cult performer. So singer-songwriter. Normally, this kind of acoustic singer-songwriter genre is something which I can normally kind of give or take, but he has the songs to kind of back it up. You know, he's an excellent artist, and this is a fantastic album. This is probably his best. I thought at first it was an original US pressing. It's on Kill Rock Stars. Then a bit of research on Discogs found that it's not. It's a repress. Don't know exactly when it's from, but it could be from any time from the late 90s up to the early noughties. Yeah, so very pleased with this indeed. Right, so the final two items are by a band whom I've previously not had anything by them on vinyl, and that is Radiohead. So I picked up two items by them, which again were partial trades. This is a live mini album from 2001. I might be wrong, live recordings. So recorded in Oxford, Berlin, Oslo, and Vaison-les-Romains, which I presume is in France. So it starts off with that song, the national anthem. That's a great song, and I've never seen them live, but I believe that it is that they usually start off their live shows with that. So great artwork as well. Okay. Finishing off now is something which I've been looking to get for quite a while on vinyl, and that is Radiohead's magnum opus release, OK Computer. And I won't go too much into it because I am sure, unless you've been living on the moon for the last 15 or so years, that you will already know about this album. But this is so this is a Parlophone UK release. I honestly cannot say if this is an original press or not, because judging by the information available on Discogs, it seems that the very first press and the repress, they have they look exactly alike. The dead wax etchings are exactly the same. I mean, there's really no way of telling them apart. So all I know is that it's not a recent release because there isn't a download code with it. But again, as with the Elliot Smith, it could be from any time from the late 90s through into the early 90s. So, and it's in all four of these releases, by the way, they're all in absolutely perfect nick, perfect condition. So I'm very pleased to add these four releases to my collection of stuff which and from that particular era as well, from the 90s and early 90s, which I didn't have much stuff in my collection from. So we'll finish up there now. We're at 21 minutes, so thank you very much for watching, and tune in again next time.